We're in professional growth and we're going to look at find and leverage instructional resources. Boy, this could be a huge section, and I think that it definitely could have some pieces added to it. I think we're always in this position where, particularly with the burgeoning number of really good ones, we could keep on adding and adding. The goal here, though, is to be making sure that we're putting before teachers something that is reasonably accessible to all of them, and that it is very high quality. It's also an opportunity to direct teachers towards the wealth of good lessons on the Better Lesson site. So at first we look at finding and leveraging instructional resources. And how many times have you found yourself reassuring teachers that it's okay to use things? On the other hand, how many times do you find yourself having conversations with teachers who go to Teachers Pay Teachers and buy stuff? The goal of this background knowledge is to help develop a better understanding of why you would use these resources. And so it takes you through a thought process, which is a bit different than just saying, hey, there's a lot of good stuff out there. And it also provides a little bit of a warning. And so it does list 3 here. We could definitely put more in here. I'm a huge fan of Edutopia, for example. So that might be an example of something that might be added. You know, they're all resources that are consistently high quality. They cover all aspects of teaching. And so there's a safe place to take a teacher of any sort and any grade level. In the create stage, we're really battling the rabbit hole, right? We've tried to focus the teacher onto a very specific area to look and think about, and then we're going to take them into these resources. Again, you could certainly assign a different resource. This would be your opportunity to add a strategy here so that they're assigned to look at that resource. And I felt it was very important to make sure that the teacher uses these guiding questions in order to prevent the rabbit hole syndrome. The testing part of this is really all about selecting a resource and trying it with your students. To me, this whole strategy, except for this very last release part, is something that maybe you could do in one meeting. And that way you're helping to guide this teacher and keep them on a narrower path. Here's an introduction of more rigor. Marzano's Essential 9, a bit controversial because we have a tendency to swing from one side to the other. It's not the be-all, end-all, that's all. And use it as a guiding path of good questions and good ideas rather than as the solution for everything. So first we start with what these 9 high-yield strategies are. And they're presented a little bit differently in these 2 different resources. One's much more formal than the other. Here's an opportunity just to select one. And the list is here for that reason, so that the teacher can think, what is it that I am trying to make a difference with? What am I trying to change? How am I trying to up the rigor? Why am I trying to up the rigor? And so this provides an opportunity to select one narrow strategy to try out. And then just like all of our other strategies, here's the opportunity to direct how it's used. And these are kind of a reproduction of the conversations you have with your teachers all the time. Exploring EdTech tools, TED Ed, a vastly underutilized resource. This is an opportunity to introduce your teacher to the TED Ed site and get them a glimpse at its depth and breadth as a teaching tool. It certainly is aiming towards being a relevant teaching tool, so it offers a fresh approach to teaching content that they might have been teaching the same way for years and years. I tend to use TED Ed with those veterans. TED Ed, and also I tend to also use the Teacher's Domain from PBS television, because that too has a fresh approach. In this case, we're asking them to try a video. But before we do that, we want them to think about how to use videos and why to use them. And we are suggesting that you can take videos, obviously, and recast them, something that we all know about, so that it is teaching specifically the content that you want, or directing students. Another nice reason to recast a video is that it allows you to walk around the room as a teacher while the students are engaged in the learning process with the video. You're using proximity to help them stay focused, and for some reason they pay more attention to a video than they do to you, even if it's a video of you. I also make this suggestion because there is a lot of video that students could watch only and not listen to, and it creates greater focus. And it's an idea worth suggesting. It depends obviously on what the content is, but it's a nice strategy to try. And there is where we have them implement, just as we do with the video strategies that we have on the browser, which suggest how to make video interactions a thinking experience. This one walks through that same idea and helps the teacher to realize that they need to test the efficacy of videos. LearnZillion is another tool that I selected because I think it's a very, very good tool to use. It makes thinking visible, but there are others. We could certainly, again, go back and think in terms of what other ones are as valuable. In this introduction, we give an opportunity for ELA, and which also could be science, even math if there's reading involved in the math, social studies, because close reading applies to all those subjects, and then a specific example from math, and then just an overview of what LearnZillion is. So it gives you an opportunity to say, here's LearnZillion, it's relevant to your teaching no matter what you teach, with a few exceptions, obviously. In Create, we're asking them to narrow down, set up an account, choose something very specific, and make a plan. Not just, oh, I like this video, I'm going to use it. What is the plan? Why am I going to use it? How am I going to use it? And like the other tools, we want the teacher to think about how it made a difference with their students. So once it's ready to be used, we remind them to think about, how do I know this made the change I wanted to see? How did it impact my students? Did it move them towards the learning objective? And then to reflect, to check in on that thinking. So that is the section. I think this is one of those sections that could be chock full of a lot more stuff, and we might want to think in terms of what is valuable enough to show up in here and what isn't being used, so that we can keep this one in balance.